Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Kevin and this is the Wrenching Fool. In this video, we're back in my kitchen again. We're going to be talking about the 2017 to 2019 Chevy Bolt EV battery recalls. Now this is part 2 of a probably 3-part video series. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I suggest you click the link up there at the top where we go over basically what the recalls are, why they're happening in my opinion, and also what I'm doing about it and what I suggest that you should do about it. So in this video, we're going to break it down to a few different basic categories, basically going over the buyback process. First off, we'll start off with how to get started with the buyback process. Then we'll discuss what information they need from you about yourself and your car and everything, just so that you can prepare that information. Something I wish that I had looked into more before I started the process. And then we'll go over the cash buyback that I was offered, basically what they call a straight repurchase. And then we'll also go over the trade repurchase option that I pursued or investigated. And then we'll talk about what did I eventually end up choosing at the end of it. So, how to get started? That's the easy part, realistically. I sort of mentioned it in the other video, but basically you need to contact GM and say that you are not happy. So you have a couple different options there. You can contact the Bolt EV Concierge team with the phone number listed there, 833-EV-CHEVY. That phone number translates out to 833-382-4389. Now, if you are going to call them, especially now after this battery replacement recall has been issued, expect long hold times, because I suspect that there's going to be a lot of people that are, much like you, expressing interest in a buyback because this has kind of gotten out of hand, if you ask me. The other option that you have, and the option that I chose when I contacted them, was to go on the website, chevy.com/contact/call-us. Then if you scroll down to the middle of the page, there's a spot on there that says message us. Just click that, and that will give you the option to do sort of like a chat room or an instant message type thing. And the reality is that when you are calling them or contacting them in whatever way, the first person that you talk to is probably not the person that you ultimately are going to need to talk to in order to initiate the buyback process. But when you get a hold of somebody, just let them know that you're concerned about the safety of your vehicle and that you're not confident with what GM has done to fix the issue so far. So when you do get a hold of them, just let them know that you're interested in a repurchase. They'll kind of try to do several different options to try to figure out what you really want. The best thing probably is just to be as straightforward as possible. Just say, I'm calling you because I'm not happy with my vehicle, I'm not confident, it doesn't feel safe, I would like to initiate a repurchase claim. And like I said, most likely they'll have somebody call you back at a later time. Most likely the person that you're going to talk to right up front is just a basic customer service representative. They're not going to be really equipped to handle a buyback. So what do they need from you? Well, in reality, they're going to need a lot of information from you, and you are going to have to come up with all of it. But I can only speak from my own experience. I can only tell you what they needed from me in my case. So on May 5th, I went to the online chat, the message us section, as I said, on the Chevy website, and submitted a request for a repurchase from them through that means. On the initial contact, what you will need to provide them is the VIN number for the vehicle, or vehicle identification number. VIN number is repetitive, but anyway, it's the 17-character vehicle identification number, and there's several places on the vehicle you can find that, or you can find it on your registration or your insurance card, if that's more convenient for you, as long as it's accurate. It's also on the left lower corner of the windshield. It's also printed on a sticker in the driver's door jamb. So if you open the driver's door, on my car in particular, it's sort of on the lower left corner of the driver's door jamb, so kind of towards the back of the driver's seat. There's a sticker down there that has production date and then some other vehicle information, but it also has the vehicle identification number on there. So they'll need that. and they'll also need a picture of the current odometer reading. Now, when you're talking to them on the phone or you're on the online chat, they're not going to need a picture at that point. But later on in the process, they do actually need a picture of your odometer, so you might as well just take it now. So after the initial contact, once a customer service representative is assigned to you, they will give you a call back, and that's when you start really getting into the nitty-gritty of the buyback process. In my case, this took about a day. So they are going to request the following information from you when they contact you back. So they want a copy of your buyer's order from when you purchased the vehicle. And this is going to be basically one of the long forms that you signed when you purchased the vehicle there in the dealership, showing things like the purchase price, if you put any cash down, if they give you any incentives or cash back credits or whatever when you bought the car. If you financed the vehicle, they need a copy of the retail finance contract. And that's, again, another one of the long forms that you signed when you bought the car, but it's the one that actually goes to the bank for when you finance the vehicle. It's the contract, basically, that shows the total amount that you financed, stuff like what bank you went through, the loan terms, interest rate, stuff like that. If you didn't finance the vehicle and you just paid cash for it, they are going to want to see a copy of the title showing that there are no lien holders on the vehicle. And then again, there's that photograph where they want the current odometer reading, and they actually need a photograph of it. Something that almost threw me for a loop, at least when I was submitting all this information, is that everything except for the odometer picture must be in PDF format. Now, if when you purchased the vehicle, they digitized all of your stuff and gave you a PDF copy of that, then fantastic, you have it already. In my case, everything I had was on paper. So luckily for me, my scanner software has an option to scan directly to a PDF, but in 2021, a lot of people don't even have scanners anymore. They're sort of, old technology. The person I talked to in particular said that for legal reasons, it must be in PDF format. They won't accept pictures of anything except for the odometer reading in this part of the process. So just one quick note about this process of initiating the repurchase claim. The customer service representative that you're talking to on the initiating side of it will ask you whether you want a straight repurchase or a trade repurchase. Now the difference there is a straight repurchase is just buy my car back, give me cash back for it, that's all I want. A trade repurchase, that's a little bit more straightforward, at least from the name of it. Basically, they're going to buy your car back and then give you a different vehicle in trade. There's no cash trade necessarily there. The thing is, you do have to choose that up front. You have to know, or at least make a decision up front to say, I want a straight repurchase or a trade repurchase. So they do require that decision up front, but you are not obligated to take their offer. So if you start off by saying, I want a straight repurchase, and they give you an offer that either you don't like or you're just curious about the trade repurchase, you can always ask them, hey, what does the trade repurchase look like? I gave them all that information, sent it off their way, and then it's just some more waiting, basically. So about 22 days later, on May 28th, I was contacted by a repurchase coordinator from GM Reacquired Vehicle Management, stating that GM was prepared to make an offer for my car. So in my case, this is the additional information they needed, and I've copied it directly from the email. Here, we'll just go through it. It's a copy of your driver's license and any other individual listed on the registration. You'll also need a copy of the vehicle registration. That should be in your car anyway. A copy of the signed bill of sale. Now, I had to do some research on this because I didn't have any paperwork that said bill of sale. In my case, it was the same as the buyer's order. They also need your full account number from your lien holder. They will also want the full payment history from your lien holder, including what part of your payment, your monthly payment, went to principal, interest, and fees. And in my case, I submitted a copy of all of the account statements that I had gotten from one of my lien holders. Otherwise, you have to request, in most cases, you have to request this paperwork from your lien holder. It's not something that, in my experience anyway, I had any access to online. They will also want a payoff quote from your lien holder, including the daily per diem amount. In my case, my lender allowed me to get access to that online. It was really easy to get from them. They also want 6 pictures of the car. They're very particular about what they want. It's basically all the 4 exterior sides of the car, plus the interior. They said standing on the driver's side, looking through the driver's side doors of the front and the back. And they will also want a copy front and back of the title if you have it. If you finance the vehicle, you don't have a title. If you paid cash for the vehicle, you should have the title. So in my case, getting some of the paperwork was a little bit tricky, specifically the payment history from one of the lenders, along with the retail finance agreement. And the reason for that was about a year after we purchased the Bolt, we refinanced it through a different lender because the interest rates were better. We e-signed all the documents, everything was online. We had to submit a request to get that paperwork. They submitted it all to a local branch, they printed it there, and then we were able to collect it from one of the local branches. It wasn't really a big deal, just more of a time-consuming thing. So we submitted all that information to them, sent it off, and then on June 8th, GM contacted me with a cash repurchase offer. And it looks like this. Now, there's a lot of information here. We don't necessarily have to look at every single thing that's on this page. I've sort of consolidated it down to the nitty-gritty details on the next slide here. But if you want, pause now, look at that, and then we'll proceed to the next slide. The cash buyback offer. Basically, GM's offer included partial reimbursement of the vehicle itself, amounting to $22,101.53. The way that they calculated that was by taking the sort of sticker price for the car minus the discount that the dealer had already put on there, which put it as $40,600. And then they subtracted $8,706.47 in usage fees, which is basically just the time and the mileage that I had already used up on the car, as well as the $9,792 that I had received in cashback and purchase incentives at the purchase point of the vehicle. Their offer also included a reimbursement for what I paid for registration, title, license, and state fees, which equated to $611.50. In addition, their offer included reimbursement for the paint protection that I purchased at the same time as the vehicle and was installed by the dealer, but that was $891. And it also included reimbursement for sales tax, which is more of like a luxury tax here in Oregon. It's basically just a tax that's applied to any new vehicle purchase, and that's $158.50. And then reimbursement for the loan, finance, or interest charges, which would equated to $1,444.81. So their total cash offer was $25,207.84. Now at the time, I owed $22,983.08 on the vehicle. So their offer would have more than paid for the loan and given me $2,224.26 back as cash in my pocket. Now, keep in mind, when I bought the car brand new, again, this is a fully loaded 2019 Bolt EV Premier that I purchased in 2019, I paid $28,312.46 plus the $891 for the paint protection. So their offer, if you're comparing it to trying to sell the car, is not a bad offer. But the problem for me was that it was enough to pay off the vehicle, but it wasn't really putting me in a good position to buy another car, especially if I was looking at buying a new electric car. And odds are I'm not going to be able to find another electric car with reasonable range on it and the options that the Bolt has for anywhere near what I paid for the Bolt. So some things that GM's offer did not include, because they did not reimburse for everything. They did not offer reimbursement for any of the accessories that I purchased specifically for the vehicle after the initial purchase. And there were a few things that I did buy. I bought the original equipment GM all-weather floor mats, the rubber ones, front and rear, and for the trunk. I also bought the GM sun visor or sun shield that goes across the windshield. And I purchased those all from the original selling dealer, but I purchased them after I bought the car. So it was not on the actual purchase paperwork for the car. I'm not sure if that would have made any difference if I'd bought it at the same time as the car, but regardless, in my case, they did not reimburse for them. They also did not reimburse for the paint protection film and the window tinting that I added to the car after the fact, those two things together, because I did paint protection film on the entire hood, the entire front bumper, the entire front fenders, the door cups, the mirrors, and the rear bumper, which is a lot. I think between all of that and the window tinting, it was over $2,000. And of course, that's stuff that's stuck to the car. I can't take any of that off and I can't transfer it to a new car. So I was hoping that they would reimburse for that, being that it was stuff that I purchased for the car with the intention of keeping the car for a long time. And now I'm being forced to sell the car basically before I had intended to because of reliability issues and quality issues with the car, something that I had not planned for. And if I'd known that that would happen, I wouldn't have put that additional investment in the car. But regardless, they didn't reimburse for it, and there was no option for that in my case. For me, I chose not to accept this offer, at least not right off the bat, and I requested that they instead investigate a trade repurchase offer because I was curious to see what they would offer. Now again, I have to stress that what they offered me is just what they offered me. It's not necessarily what they'll offer you or anybody else. So in my case, GM offered me an MSRP swap for another vehicle. Now, of course, that means what is an MSRP swap? What does that even mean? Well, MSRP, in case you don't know, stands for Manufacturer Suggested Retail Value. Or in other words, it's like the full price for the car. So an MSRP swap is basically you are given the full original MSRP value of your vehicle to put towards the purchase of another GM vehicle at MSRP, at full price. So the base price for a Bolt EV Premier in 2019 was $40,905. In my case, my car had about $1,730 of options, including the DC fast charging, the Driver Confidence 2 package, and the infotainment package. The destination charge is considered part of the MSRP, and it is credited towards you in an MSRP swap. So in the case of my 2019 Bolt, it was $875. So that brings my Bolt's actual MSRP to $43,510. Quite a bit more than the $28,300 that I paid for it. So in other words, just to put it into a different perspective, GM is basically offering me $43,510 of store credit, for lack of a better term, to put towards any other GM product that I want. So, what can I get for $43,500? Well, there's lots of stuff that GM sells that's within that price range, but I really wanted to get another EV. With the commuting that I do every day, and just the way that I use cars nowadays and the way that the preferences that I have anymore, I really wanted to stick with another electric vehicle. And at this point in time, within the realm of GM, that means I'm limited to another Chevy Bolt. But luckily, in June, this vehicle came out. Yes, in June, the 2022 Chevy Bolt EUV started to become available. Dealers were getting it. They were just starting to become available. So I just asked them, is it possible to do a 2022 Bolt EUV? Well, first let's look at the price comparison. A base price for the Premier model starts at $38,495. Now, if I option it up to the way that I would want, something that's sort of equivalent to the car that I have now, but also includes the really amazing Super Cruise system that's now available on the Bolt EUV, that puts us basically at $43,190, which is a total of $310 difference from what my Bolt EV cost me. Or at least I should say the MSRP of my Bolt EV. That's not what it cost me. Now, the question then is, can I trade for a 2022 model year vehicle? A vehicle that literally, at this point in time, had just come out, like within days. According to my repurchase coordinator, I specifically asked him, and his response was there is no limitation to the make, year, or model of vehicle that you want to trade for. Awesome. So, which option did I choose? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but I chose to trade for the 2022 Bolt EUV. And there's several different reasons why, but I think what it really boils down to is it makes the most financial sense for me. As I said, with the cash repurchase offer that they made, it was enough to pay off the loan and give me a little bit of money back in my pocket, but it wasn't really enough to put me in a good position to buy an equivalent replacement. Especially now that around here, the 2021 Bolt EVs are basically gone. So this gives me the option to get a replacement EV that I'm really happy with, will probably be even more happy with than my current Bolt, and it hopefully won't burst into flames. But it costs me basically no additional money, which is awesome. I really like my 2019 Bolt EV. I've been really, really happy with it right up to the point of it having battery fire issues. But you know, I think that the Bolt EUV is going to be an even better car. They listened to some of the concerns that people had, the owners of the EVs had, and addressed a lot of them in not only the 2022 Bolt EV, but even more so in the Bolt EUV. Unfortunately, the only thing they didn't really address was the charging speeds. But I've said in other videos, I don't think for me personally that's that big of a deal. So I've made up my mind. I want to go for the 2022 Bolt EUV. What's next? Well, this is where things start to get tricky. Basically, what they told me is that I had to find a dealership that was willing to work with me, which is one of my concerns that I had with the whole process that I'll go over at the end. But basically, they put all of that on my plate. There's no assistance at all from GM regarding trying to find a vehicle and trying to find a dealer that will work with you to facilitate the whole trade. And you cannot order anything directly from GM. It has to go through a dealer. So I have to contact dealers to try to find a car that matches what I want. And that's a mosaic black exterior paint, the black with blue interior, premier model with the Sun and Sound and Super Cruise packages. The other thing is that the dealer, as I said, has to be willing to go through the trade repurchase process with me. And something that the contact that I was talking to at GM was very clear about is that a lot of dealers are not going to want to go through that process, especially on a brand new car that just came out and is in really high demand. To sum it all up, basically I have to find a dealer, find the car at that dealer, or a dealer that's willing to make an order for me, connect them with the GM reacquired vehicle management, and then get all of that set up by the deadline. The deadline was 3 days later. To make things even more complicated, as I mentioned before, this was a brand new vehicle. This was back in June when the Bolt EUV, the 2022 Bolt EUV had just come out. There was no dealer inventory anywhere. Just sporadically throughout the country, we're starting to see them pop up, or people who had already pre-ordered the launch edition or pre-ordered other versions, they might be getting them, but there is nothing sitting on a lot anywhere for me to purchase. Thus begins the process of finding a 2022 Chevy Bolt EUV. I have 3 days to do it. I looked online using Chevy's online website, their build and purchase whatever thing on there. And looking online, nobody within 2,000 miles has a Bolt EUV with the options I want, either in stock or arriving anytime soon. So I basically just started sending out emails to all of the local Chevy dealers, just basically asking, hey, are you guys willing to do a GM trade repurchase? Do you have any Bolt EUVs either in stock or on order soon? And most of the people I talked to never even got back to me. Most of the people I talked to, I didn't get any kind of useful response from them, but I did get a response from Capital Chevy, which happens to be, ironically, the dealer that is here in Salem where I live. They're 10 minutes away from me. And on top of that, they had a black Bolt EUV 2022 Premier model with the Sun and Sound package and Super Cruise on order. It's like a miracle. It's exactly the car that I wanted in my hometown where I live. They have it on order, and the best part, yes, they are willing to work with me. Unfortunately, it's on order. They have nothing in stock at all. They have several on order, but they have no idea when they'll receive them. But fortunately, the only thing that the GM Reacquired Vehicle Management and my repurchase coordinator need in order to reserve the car for me is an order number. So I was able to get that number from Capital Chevy. They've been incredible about this so far, and I was able to reserve a car. So now we wait. Again, Capital Chevy, when I was talking to them, had no idea when the vehicle that they had ordered was going to even be built, let alone delivered. So after I submitted all that information to my repurchase coordinator, they were able to look into it more. And basically, the vehicle was reserved on June 11th, on the deadline. The original estimated production timeline, they only give you a week of when they think it'll be built. The original timeline was the week of October 4th, 2021. So that's already, what, 4 months? Well, 2 weeks later, I get another email from my repurchase coordinator saying, hey, it's been delayed to October 18th. Okay, fine, whatever. 2 weeks later, I get another email. Currently, that brings us up to today, basically, it has been delayed till November 8th, 2021. Now, I've gone through this process already with Tesla. I know what's going to happen. It's just going to keep getting delayed and delayed and delayed until some point, probably in December, when I finally get my car. But anyway, again, I'm not going to complain too much because, again, I'm getting a nice upgrade in vehicle. COVID has kind of screwed things up as far as vehicle production goes. COVID and the short-sightedness of vehicle manufacturers, realistically. Given everything that's been happening recently with the Bolt, as far as now I can't charge it overnight, I can't park it inside, and now especially I can't drive it, further than 30% state of charge. I can't charge it to 100%. I did ask my repurchase coordinator, hey, is there any other options to help me out in the meantime? Will GM pay for a loaner car? Will they offer a loaner car? Will they pay for a rental car? Anything like that? And I basically got a straight up, nope, they're not doing anything else. They will not authorize any other solutions for me in the meantime. So yeah, that brings us to the present where we're still waiting for the car. But I did want to at least bring a video up talking about the process rather than waiting until October or November or whenever it is when I do get my car. At least we can do a part of it now talking about the process up to this point. So final thoughts on the battery recall and the buyback process, at least from my perspective of what I've experienced. Personally, I am extremely disappointed with LG Chem regarding the battery fault in the first place. This is something that should never have happened. This is really, really disappointing, and I hope that it triggers GM to be a little bit more cautious in dealing with LG and really crack down on quality control with them to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because this is going to cost GM a lot of money, and it's giving them a really black eye right at a point when they're trying to pivot more towards electric vehicle technology. I'm also really disappointed in GM's public response to this battery fault. I mean, why did it take 3 recalls to come to a reasonable solution? We're just now getting to the point of them saying, okay, we'll replace the batteries. But even then, it's not necessarily them saying, we're just going to replace all of them just to be safe. It's, well, we'll do some testing and put this software in and do diagnostic and replace some of them. Well, that's really not good enough at this point. They've sort of fumbled too many times to say that, well, we're going to try and figure out which ones need replaced and selectively replace them. They've screwed up too many times. They just need to replace all of them or replace the vehicles. And then the other question realistically is, how long is it going to take for these batteries to get replaced? And even more importantly, how many more cars are going to set on fire and how many more houses are going to get burned down, and potentially how many people are going to lose their houses, their lives, their families because these cars are burning down. Who knows? With that being said, I am mostly satisfied with how GM has handled my specific case. They've been pretty receptive about my concerns. They've addressed them fairly well. The only concerns that I've really had so far has basically been with, and this is going to sound kind of pathetic, but it's really how much effort I've had to put into trying to get to the end result. The dealers are hard to work with, and GM seems to really lack control over the individual dealers. Sort of an issue with franchising, really, is that they can only do so much, and they only have so much control over what's realistically an independent business. Yeah, there was just too much effort, in my opinion, to come up with all of the paperwork, find a car, find a dealer that will work with me, make all of that stuff work, and just basically hand off all that information to them. Just the timeline that they gave me to do all of that, 3 days to do all of that while I'm working, and just before a holiday weekend on top of that. It was just, to me, it's unreasonably short. But on top of that, I feel like I'm getting a good deal. Like I'm getting a nice upgrade and I'm not paying really anything additional for it. So I can't be too upset about that. And honestly, I trust GM. I trust that GM has done enough now to make sure that their upcoming products are going to be safe and reliable. You know, if anything, they should learn from this. And I feel like they probably have, hopefully. So that's going to be it for this video. If you liked this video, please consider hitting the like button down there below. If you like this type of video and like to see more of this type of content, please subscribe to the channel. I do a lot with electric vehicles. Obviously, I've got my 2019 Bolt. I've also got a 2021 Tesla Model 3 long range. I do some work in the shop, lots of other stuff. If you have any questions about anything, just put it down there in the comment section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.